Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to get back with an ex the right way, and this is going to be expert advice from people who work in the relationship area. So, this is what they said ahead: 18 must follow rules for rekindling romance. And then they said, my dog must be mad. It says, the word alone has an tempting force packed into those two little letters that it's no wonder many former couples. Just a moment. I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. There we go. Okay, so it says it's no wonder many former couples can't resist the allure of a second chance at love and the steamy makeup that comes with. We gotta get Mr. Fox because he wants to be here. Come here, baby. Did that, baby. Did that, baby. Okay, he's here. Okay. There, he never lets us just talk in peace. Okay, so let's get back to it. It says, but before you go ahead and try getting back together, know there's a good chance it won't end up like Carrie and Aiden 3.0. They're talking about that show, Sex in the City. So while the urge to text your ex may be all kinds of real RN, so is the potential for renewed drama, the kind that Max can't even come up with. I don't know who Max is, so I'm not sure where they're getting that. Mr. Fox, please sit in your chair. Okay, so it says, in times like this, it's important to remember that you probably broke up for a very legit reason. Still, your desire to rekindle an old flame. It says that's pretty normal, and it says we are wired for attachment, and it says also for new experiences. That's what a licensed marriage and family therapist said. Okay, so they said when we can have a bit of both by getting back together with a former lover, many of us jump at the opportunity. Then they said, let's face it, getting back together with an ex is just easier than spending hours swiping through an app and going on cringe dates. We often aren't interested in someone new because we have to get to know someone new. That takes time. Then the author said, they wrote a book too called Finding Love Again, 6 Simple Steps to a New and Happy Relationship. And it says when with your ex, we already know what they like and don't like and how they act. It's definitely possible to have more success with round 2. That's what they said. But you need to approach it the right way. Here's how to get back with an ex without making a total mess up. Mr. Fox wants all my attention. It says consider how you might have changed. Before you even weigh the pros and cons of getting back with an ex, it's important to check in with yourself about where you're at. It says, sure, your ex might want you back and say that you've changed, especially if the relationship ended due to their unsavory behavior. But what do you want and how have you changed? Then they said, over time, we learn new things about ourselves and develop different perspectives. So, of course, you may develop different needs or have a change in plans for the future. So then they said, this is coming from a licensed marriage and family therapist in Florida. They said, make sure you're able to communicate these things to your partner so that both of you have a fair opportunity to make each other happy. If you're honest with yourself, you might have outgrown your past connection with this person or moved on entirely into a new chapter. Either way, this is a necessary step to take before reaching out to your ex. It said, ask yourself if you trust your ex. Trust is required for any relationship to be healthy and stable. Before sending that text, you should really evaluate how the relationship ended and how your ex behavior or reaction during that time made you feel. If they betrayed your trust during the relationship by crossing a boundary or even cheating on you, It's definitely necessary to ask yourself if you really trust them now. If your answer is no, you may need to establish this prior to committing to each other. Um, it says that ways to establish trust are by slowly starting as friends and trying to get to know the person again. If your values align, it is a sign that things may actually work out. While they might be ready to jump back into a romantic connection with you, if you still need time to work through the trust issues you have with your ex, rebuilding that foundation of friendship can help. They said, know the difference between missing them and something more. Missing someone is a pretty normal response after a breakup. After all, this person was in your life consistently and closely until poof, they weren't. By all means, let yourself miss them, but don't overanalyze what that means. Missing someone is not necessarily a signal that you're supposed to get back together with them. They said, before you send that potentially misguided miss you text, consider the big cues. It says, can you still see a future with them? Does that future seem attainable knowing what you know now? And can you be sure your needs for said future will be met? Then they said, oh, and by the way, you'll want to keep coming back to these answers if a few months of singlehood makes you doubt your decision to jump ship. It's all too easy for dating fatigue to make you look at your previous partner with rose-colored glasses. That's what they said. So if you kept them to remind yourself of your ex shortcomings, they're talking about like old journals, possibly, or make a list of the top 10 reasons they sucked and keep it somewhere handy. Even if the situation does change down the road, at least you'll know you're making a decision to get back together on facts, not on a bunch of bad dates. They said make sure the decision is yours if you're trying to get back with them. Many people can attest to how difficult a breakup can be. When your loved ones also love your former, if they have a strong bond with your parents or have become thick as thieves with your besties, severing those ties can be almost as painful for all parties involved as the breakup was for you. Because of this, your inner circle might try to sway your decision one way or the other, depending on how emotionally attached they are to the situation. This is something you'll need to look out for and choose to stand firm in your own autonomy. Mr. Fox, please, that's enough. Because you've dated before, your family and friends may weigh in with their own opinions. Mr. Fox, stop. Recognize how much of your decision is based on what's best for you. David says before you reopen that line of communication with your ex, really make sure that you're doing it for yourself, not just to make others happy. Find out what has changed for them. Let's say your ex reached out with a heartfelt text after treating you like crap. Oh, the validation, whatever part of you felt insecure by having been left or worse, betrayed. Just the simple act of them wanting to come back can feel so vindicating that we can jump right back into a relationship without digging deeper into their side of things. Then they said it's your job. Ask them what has truly changed for them and ask them to be specific. If all they can say is, I realize how much I miss you, or I know now how much you mean to me, that's probably not good enough, says that therapist person. Those are signs of emotional vulnerability, sure, but not necessarily emotional growth. They said in response, you could start by picking out the main issue that led to the breakup and find out how they feel about it now in details. For example, if you split because they weren't ready to talk marriage, say something like, we broke up because you didn't think talking about an engagement timeline made sense. Are you in that same place now? Then based on that, does that mean we can talk about it in 6 months if we got back together? That almost to me sounds like they're being pushy by bringing that up so suddenly. they would still need to ease their way back in. I meant like that's doing too much too early, like asking for marriage so quickly. Then this person said, this gives your ex the opportunity to present objective changes they actually have made or want to make in the sake of a stronger. If they can't do so, don't look past that. Ask your ex to commit to therapy, regardless of how, the breakup went. They said, I guess, that this helps y'all move forward and start anew together. So they said that's a wonderful tool to use. Okay, so let's see what they said. They said it's good for communication, the therapy. Okay. Quiet, Mr. Fox. Stop. So then they said, Mr. Fox, please. He's really mad right now. Then they said, take it slow. Once you decided to go on your reunion tour, remember that you don't need to go full steam ahead. It may be tempting to pick up at the level of intimacy where you left off, but they said it can be extremely helpful to slow down and take a beat before you slap a label on things again. Then they said, figure out your own needs. Quiet, Mr. Fox. He's never happy, as you can see. Here. Go. Then they said, this is your chance to lay all your cards on the table, so don't be afraid to get real. They said this is about figuring out your needs. And then they said about what you need to be happy in a relationship. Then they said they recommend asking yourself what your expectations are in a relationship, as well as what qualities you need from a partner. They said, was there something major missing before that your partner could actually fulfill this time around? That's an important question to be able to answer before reconciling. For example, did you feel like they took you for granted last time? Didn't know how to speak your love language? That's all fixable, and it takes two. Then they said, but if you felt like they didn't quite match up in terms of goals and values, that's a different story. Perhaps you're super ambitious and they're A-okay working at their dad's company with no plans of moving up or taking it over someday. That's likely not going to change tomorrow. Then they said, you'll also want to have your deal breakers in mind. Then share these expectations with your former partner and have your former partner do the same. And share the list with you. This is important for all couples to do together, but even more important when you reconnect with a former partner, be honest, be open and honest. Then they said, view it as a new chapter in an old relationship. They said, yes, you've already dated and know one another, but time changes people. So get to know your former partner again, ask questions, see what they think and feel. They said it's important to recognize that this is a rekindling of an old relationship, not the start of a new one. And they said it's impossible to truly have a fresh start with someone you've already dated. Then they said, when getting back together with an ex, you need to do everything you can to separate the fact from fiction and the past from the present. Ask yourself if some of the beliefs you have about this person are based on the behavior and statements they're making to you now versus who they were when you initially started dating and things were good. Women are especially vulnerable to sticking with their first impressions of people. So check yourself. Is it your mind telling you that this person is your rock solid? Is that thought based on what has actually happened in the relationship, or are you letting what you want things to be like overshadow how things actually were? Then they said if you're having trouble sussing this out, try making a timeline of your past relationship, highlighting significant events, both good and bad. This exercise helps you see what your ship was actually like versus your brain's fantasy of it, and can help you pinpoint times when your ex didn't live up to the image you've made yourself believe. Then they said, talk about what you did when you were apart. Now the time to speak up if you were with someone while you two were broken up. You don't have to go into detail. A simple, I dated someone for a few months is good enough unless that someone was his best friend, coworker, or anyone else that might trigger hurt or jealousy. Then they said, it's important to at least mention it so that there were no surprises down the road. If your guy is upset about it, even though hello, you weren't together anymore, then talk about it and address your concerns or fears and then move on. Then they said, and why you want to get back together. Think about that. Are you frustrated because your last date was a lousy kisser or turned out to be a dingbag? Or do you really think there's something positive and healthy worth pursuing with your ex? If it's the former, close, I don't know what they're saying there. But if it's the latter, go for it. They said, remember, settling is still settling, even if it's with someone you've loved before. You could get back with an ex, or you could just stay friends with them. These celebs did just that. Listen to your gut. That's the number one thing you should do. If you found yourself ignoring some major issues the last time the two of you were paired, then it's important not to let that happen this go around. Perhaps last time you were in the relationship with your ex, you didn't see the red flags or didn't listen to your gut. Maybe you thought things would change, you didn't believe in yourself or know what you wanted. If you're giving a second chance, be sure you also trust your instinct. If things start to backslide again, you know that little ball of doubt in the pit of your stomach, it's there for a reason. Don't ignore it if it comes back or grows. Then they said, address the old issues that y'all had. So they said it's likely that old fights and problems are going to crop up again. It's best to get ahead of them. You don't have to reenact your worst fight ever, but you should discuss the issue behind it. Plus, what you're going to do to avoid another one of those in the future. They said talking about it when you're both calm is key, since you're much more likely to get somewhere. It is important for a couple to build on the past relationship. Then they said note that if your ex is quick to sweep old issues under the rug, that's probably not a good start. Feelings need to be validated, even if the other party doesn't agree with them. Then they said have a commitment chat. Given that the two of you have a past, trust has most likely been broken. And in many relationships, breakups occur because one or both of the partners have betrayed the other in some way in trust. Once it's broken, it's very hard to rebuild. Because of that, they recommend couples looking to rekindle their relationship have a trust chat where you discuss what it means to trust one another and list realistic expectations for your relationship, as well as answer what is fidelity and what does it mean to each of us as we go forward. Then they said during this talk, you'll want to decide what your definition is of commitment. These are all questions that should be addressed in any relationship as you move forward, and even more if you're getting back with your ex. Let's take a water break. So then they said they recommend that if you're going to do this, be ready to forgive. So they said, let's say your ex cheated on you physically or emotionally. You have to be truly willing to give them another chance. Otherwise, you'll end up crucifying them for the past every time you get upset. You know what I mean. They forget to call you back. You go on a downward spiral thinking about what they could be doing, then throw their past in their face when they ask why you're annoyed. It's perfectly normal and okay to have old wounds, but you need to be able to talk about them calmly and respectfully together. To avoid an unhealthy cycle of criticism, Keep in mind that forgiveness is a process, and if you're struggling to move forward with it while being with your ex, you may want to hold off for a bit. Then they said collect your thoughts before bringing them up. If you do notice ghosts from your past relationship coming, I don't know what they mean there. I guess they're just talking about if you notice past issues coming up, it's best not to speak about them the moment they pop into your head. This makes it all too easy for unhelpful arguments to creep into y'all's situation. So they said when this happens, it's much better to write in a journal or talk to a friend until you have your thoughts enough together to have something constructive to discuss. That's what's much better. Then they said, always speak up about your feelings, but know that people respond best when it's done in a thoughtful and organized manner. When you know what you want to say, approach it this way. Here's what's been on my mind, or I could use some reassurance about it. The next thing they said is don't expect everyone to be on board. Just because you're ready to move on with an ex, that doesn't mean your family or BFF will be quite as keen on the ideal. They will remember what was bad about your ex, and most likely because you've spoken negatively about the former partner to them, they will bring it up again as you announce to them about getting back together. Then they said when that happens, it's important to remember that they have your best interests at heart. Then it says she recommends meeting their concerns with this. I hear you, I understand your concerns, and I appreciate you telling me. Then they said follow it up with the things that have changed about your ex and how you've discussed it all. You can also fill them in on your plan moving forward and keep them looped in along the way. Then they said remember the bottom line, you're still with the same person. Sure, people change, but they're usually more likely to stay the same. Basically, don't think that things will be different after getting to know you again. The stage is over. So they're saying once that stage is over, like things are pretty much still the same. It is very common for couples to fall back into the same patterns that they found themselves the previous time around. So then they said, odds are you're going to deal with it again, so make sure they're worth the time and effort. Now for the real talk, is there a foolproof way to win back your ex? Sorry, but no. They said just like there's no one-size-fits-all approach to eating or sweating or even relationshiping in the first place. No single action can guarantee your ex will opt in again. Why? Because everybody's different, obviously, and what resonates for one person might not for another. On top of that, feelings fluctuate, meaning that what might seem sweet today might come off needy tomorrow. The upside. If whatever you try, be it a simple phone call, daily thirst traps, or a rom-com worthy grand gesture doesn't pan out, you'll ultimately be better off because now at least you have an answer. You deserve to be with someone who's 100% wanting to be with you too. Even if you think this person is the one. If they aren't on the same page, they obviously cannot be. And in that case, the only 3 little words you need to say are thank you next. And that is the end of, I guess, how to get back together with an ex the right way. I guess the moral of the story is that old issues will still be coming back up. Take your time. And also right now is a good moment to like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and you can even share the video. And note ultimately that it is up to you and your ex to put things back in order again, because it takes 2 to tango. We're getting Mr. Fox. Oh, come here, baby. Yeah, and if they haven't, whoop, okay, you're wet, Mr. Fox. And if they haven't gotten with anybody new, maybe you better get back with them fast, and save what you have if too much time hasn't passed. But if maybe 20 years has passed, wow, y'all have a lot of getting to know each other all over again. You know, yeah, it's very easy, I guess, to get back with somebody you already know, but again, what they keep saying is those same issues will keep coming back up. That's what the problem is. So that's something that y'all eventually will want to talk about, because that's what pulled you guys apart in the first place, those issues. So when y'all find a good time to talk about it on both of you guys' off days, where y'all will agree to not get upset with each other, to bring up these issues so y'all can get back in each other's good graces, right, Mr. Fox? And then maybe this relationship will actually have a chance, And yeah, so that's pretty much my advice, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Bye.